Hey Tony, how's it going?
Hi. It's cool. It's cool.
Awesome. Where are you based out of?
Now I'm based in France, in Paris.
Gotcha. Do you ever go to the StarkNet meetups out there?
Not yet. I'm recently in this environment, you know.
Were you at ETHCC?
I missed almost all the CC because I was busy with some working and studying.
Gotcha. What's your background? Do you come from like a Rust background?
No, it's mostly Python and Golang. So I like discovered Rust half a year ago. It's really amazing.
Were you
It's
I come
free.
from a Golang background too. I think I was even talking to Luke about this in Austin. Were you worried when Rust came on the scene that it was gonna eat your lunch?
Me? Oh, I haven't messed with Golang, so maybe perhaps it was someone else, but I just really like Rust. I was dealing with Haskell, and it's just like, dang, it's Rust is so much better in my opinion.
No, I just meant that I talked to you about because I know you were a Rust guy, and I was talking to you about me coming from Golang and like worried that Rust was gonna come in and take over all the Golang jobs.
Yeah.
Tony, did you feel that way at all coming from Go?
I don't know because I heard that Google working on Carbon language, which is I think would be almost the Rust, but it's from Google. So I think they have enough money and power to make a even more bigger language. I afraid of that, but for now, yeah, Rust is like killer.
I saw that when it was just announced. And it almost looked like it was specifically for C++ devs or something like that. I mean, I kind of forget the details, but has there been any momentum around that since it got released?
I don't know actually.
What's it called again? It's just called Carbon.
Yeah.
Hey guys, hey Robin, how's it going?
Hey, nice to meet you.
Long time no talk, man. How's life?
It's great. I'm sorry I wasn't able to join Friday.
No worries. Cool. Speaking of that, so we got most everybody on. I think Glim said he's on a meeting, but he'll try to join in a little bit. We could probably make this fairly short today since we, met up on Friday. We can go through our backlog real quick. Some cool developments. Luke, I saw what I think what you said about the SNIP is an awesome idea. I think that's the kind of stuff that we should be focusing on for sure.
Cool. Yeah, I'll throw that together. I think I could probably have like a rough draft by the time we have a meeting next week. I think so.
That would be epic. Okay.
Yeah. Feedback too from everyone.
I'll get a issue together just so we can track it and talk about it. So we fixed our CI stuff. So we cleared out a lot of our backlog. So Robin, can you give an update on 492?
Sure. So I hard coded the environment variables that we could not make it to work through GitHub config. And the scope of this pair was just to upload the Docker logs to the CI to be able to see what's going on and why does it fails sometimes, as well as fixing the Ethereum checkpoint. And the CI is now running. The issue now is it started panicking at a specific point, and when the Beerus panics, it crashes and then fails to run. So I copy pasted the error log in the pull request messages if you want to take a look at it. Might be easier than through the action logs.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so it's a bit below. Yeah, here it is. And yeah, so the Tokyo runtime worker panics on call to start and get events. And I don't know if code has changed, which could cause the panic, because it was working fine beforehand.
Oh, I see. I think I see what's wrong here. So we might need to give I believe that getEvents does pagination. So I think we need to give it like a certain amount of scope to go backwards. Otherwise, we're going to get every single event that's occurred since the contract was deployed. So I think that'll just be adding a bound to the get event call. All right, let's check we can check the actual hurl, because it's running the hurl files, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's the starknet get events.
Okay.
And once we fix this error, the CI should run fine. And there are still a couple endpoints that consistently fail, especially the one relying on specific state. So the CI won't go green magically. But once this is fixed, at least the behavior is consistent. And when the other endpoint fails, it doesn't make every subsequent call fail. So we can have a clear view at what works, what is working, and what is not working. And with that, we can I can work on the devnet and see if we can implement it properly to be able to have a predictable state and have something working. I could actually work on the devnet and see if I can specify stuff that is reliable for this endpoint. But as we agreed last time, that we should first fix everything that is fixable to not have conflicts between what's broken in Beerus and what should break with adding a devnet. It would make more sense to me.
Right. And we going forward with that, I think that we can just kind of take your document and I think we should just merge what you have here, even if the devnet is failing, and then just either stub those out in the devnet run or something, because I think what you have here is I think we should just basically have this in the code base, even if the devnet side is not working.
Okay, sure.
Cool.
It's also possible to mark the job as allowed to fail to avoid the red flag until we effectively fix this. If it's something that makes sense, but it makes the test appear as passing even though it's failing. So it's a question of policies, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. I'll defer to you on that, whatever you're thinking. So for this one, I think we'll need to add a continuation token. I think we have chunk size. Yeah. So I think it's just going to be adding the right call here. In fact, I think even Pathfinder. At least they used to have a whole bunch of RPC examples. Have you seen those?
I never had a look at it.
One sec.
Yeah, those are the examples that I've shared with the guys before when we were talking about these URL files.
You have the link to it available, Alex?
Yeah, 1 second. Well, I think I was just in the V2. Oh, I see, because you can't find the examples folder. 1 second.
Oh, it looks like it's in doc, so Pathfinder, doc, RPC. Examples, no, not that. Yeah, so you could essentially, I think, just kind of pull this and use this. I'll put it in the Telegram and the comments.
And what's the keys actually?
The what?
The keys in the parameter filter. What does it do?
This one is putting in a filter. So for our filter, we do chunk size, and I think that's it. I think we also have an address. Yeah, so we at this address, give me a chunk size of 10. That other one is refining it even more. So it's refining it to which block to start at and which block to end at. And then also the specific keys to look for.
Okay.
Because I think what you're getting on the return side on the error is there's just going to be too many too many responses. Yeah, query too broad.
Yeah. Yeah, so it just needs to be more specific.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I can work on this if you want to create an issue, or I can.
Yep, I'll create one. I will create one. Cool. All right, and then I think we did not get a response from Startup Dreamer. Alex, you haven't heard anything from him, have you? Him or her?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so we will wait on that one. And then Glim, I think, is not on. So he went through and tested these. I think he just had a little bit of feedback. Tony, did you get a chance to look? Oh yeah, and it looks like you have addressed all this. Do you want to give a quick update, Tony?
I just fixed the comments, and I wonder, should I delete the last file which built in the client? And it's like, it's redundant because we have examples. So
you're saying, should we delete which file?
the client one, or
one.
building in client, because I think it's not really useful.
I guess I'll leave this as an open question to everybody on the call, because I kind of think, I mean, just me as a dev consumer, I love to see as many examples and reference code as I can get. What do you guys think?
I like examples personally.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So yeah, let's leave it in. Was there one, Glim might be joining us in a little bit, so would have called StarkNet method instead of Ethereum, or perhaps both, to show how Beerus exposes both endpoints. Did you have any thoughts on this, Tony?
I added a StarkNet call to get a block. Like there are 2 calls to Ethereum and to StarkNet. So like I added them both.
I see. Okay, awesome. All right, sounds good. That's it for what we have on backlog. Did anyone have any further ideas on simplifying the code base? maybe Alex, or I know, so simplifying is basically going to be one of the things we're going to look at in this sprint and I think the next sprint. So there's still some time to kind of come up with suggestions. One thing I want to ask you guys, I mean, we basically split out the Starknet and Ethereum logic here, as well as the Helios initialization here. To me, that was confusing when I first looked into the code base, just because the initialization is broken out into so many different like subdirectories. Do you guys have any ideas on that? Or other simplification things we can get done? Some of these files too. I mean, here's kind of an open question, like our standards for testing, some of the files we have just config testing macros in the bottom of the files, and some we have broken out into test directories. I guess maybe I'll ask Luke. I mean, since you're a seasoned Rust dev, what do you think about standardizing how we do tests? What do you prefer? For
Oh,
where
I
these,
wouldn't say I'm super seasoned, but I would like it all just the same personally. So like and like their own modules, I guess. But that's just my preference. I'm not sure what would work best in practice over the long term, though.
so you like, as far as would you extrapolate these out to a test directory?
That's
Or-
what I liked, but I mean, I'm just going with my personal preference. Like the way that I thought the tests were organized for like the config RS that I just did was pretty nice, I thought.
Okay.
But yeah, that's just kind of my personal opinion. I don't know what would work best, but it seems like, I don't know, I always thought it was kind of weird how Rust had its tests within the same module, but it seems like it's kind of like that's how they teach you, at least in the Rust book. But I would personally prefer like their own file, I guess, but my personal opinion, I guess.
I agree with that. Anyone else have any other thoughts on that?
Well, they state in the Rust book that putting tests inside the modules allow to test private stuff and some things more easily. But if we do not need specifically to put the test inside the module to be able to access some private stuff, and we can afford to put the test in a test directory, it just adds readability, and it sounds easier to me.
Okay.
At least to read the code cleaner.
Okay. Since Beerus core is meant to be an API, I think it makes sense that we can probably extrapolate those out into another module, like into the test module. Not saying that's not important to test private functions, but if it is meant to be an API, we'll test those private functions via the calls to the public exposure of those functions. So I'll get an issue around that. Okay, sounds good. Yeah, like I said, we can keep today short. That's the backlog. What else? What other open items do we have? Alex, do you have anything?
No, I don't have anything.
Sample recipes, okay.
I had two, I think they'll be quick questions if it's all right.
Yeah.
So the first one was on the format of the spike. How would you want that? Would you want like a markdown pull request, or would you want just like a Google document that's shared in the Telegram chat, or ideas like that? I mean, I'm assuming you just want like a written report was what you had in mind.
Yeah, that's a good question. For Madara, I did a couple spikes in Madara, and I basically did both, like kind of did a summary here with a Google Doc and with an attachment of kind of a longer form. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you think for spikes? Because I think moving forward, we might have more spikes going on. So
I do feel like they would get like lost if they're just posted somewhere in Telegram as a Google Doc.
yeah.
Like if they were in the repo, like I feel like the knowledge would be contained, but maybe there's a better way of like keeping it like easy recognizable or easy, findable source. You know what I mean? Like keeping it all together, somewhere that's easy to find. If there's
in
gonna be several.
discussions, the tab next to pull requests. It's like
Okay.
post it there.
Yeah, I think that makes sense too. Cool, that works for me. Let's do discussions, and then I do think it kind of depends on the outcome of the spike. So like, if this comes to bear and you've done the work and you say, since we're using storage proofs on the L2 side, it doesn't make sense for us to wrap this in a ZK scheme, then we can just close the discussion. And if not,
Right.
I'd like maybe for you to open up some issues around it.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I think I like Alex's idea. Like, let's do discussions for now, and then you can
Okay,
post
cool.
the write-up and then maybe a link to a Google Doc if you like working in Google Docs better.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And the last thing was I noticed, so still kind of get used to everything, but like I noticed with like Helios relies heavily on like the sync committee and what they called the checkpoint, I guess. There's the lightweight something rather for its sort of good.
The weak subjectivity checkpoint.
Thank you. For its like establishing like validity, but on the Starknet side, it's just a storage proof, and I guess that's just kind of like the fundamentals of how a storage proof works. That there doesn't have to be like a, I don't know, I guess a quorum of validators, and then you can just rely on querying the Stark node as is, and that's enough verification. Is that understanding right?
As Starknet exists as a platform today, that's correct. But there's these Starknet essentially will. Yeah, it's a good question. So to back up, the reason why we can have a centralized sequencer and a centralized prover is because the execution of Cairo and a Cairo execution trace can't be falsified. There's no VM instruction set that can go awry. No one can lie in the execution of a Cairo VM step. So any code that is run and executed on Starknet is valid. That's why we call it a validity proof. So that's why we can have one prover and one sequencer. The problem is, even though we can't falsify or double spend anything in the execution of the VM, we could drop your transaction on the floor. You could submit a transaction to our centralized sequencer, and we could say, oh, well, we don't like the look of that. We'll just not execute that. So even though we have this like ability to run this trustless VM, we still need some type of consensus at layer 2 around what's being executed. So eventually we'll have a consensus protocol.
So then at that point, it's like what I was actually really thinking was like, it only makes sense to have a sync committee on the Ethereum side. It doesn't make sense to have a sync committee on the Starknet side, at least yet. Is that accurate enough?
Exactly.
Okay,
yeah. But we will.
Yeah.
And there's a series of posts called Starknet decentralization around kind of how this, at least it's a proposal, at least it's a stepping off point. Yeah, so this is a Starkware engineer named Ilya, based out of Tel Aviv, and he put together this series of blog posts. This kind of gives you a table of contents for the other ones. I'll put this here. And here. But essentially exactly what you said. Eventually we'll have a peer-to-peer network of sequencers building the state, and all of those sequencers will then come to consensus around what state is being built, and then they'll need to expose the things that you're talking about in your SNIP of the LightClientView. But it'd be good. So I guess since that protocol is not in place now, it's going to be harder to write that SNIP, but it's going to be good to have a voice about that while the protocol is being built.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that gets to it. My questions. Thank you.
Yeah. Easy. How do you feel about the spike format that we just talked about?
Yeah, I actually think it works for me, and I actually wanted to ask the question, but it's good if someone else asked it too, so I would know how to share my updates.
So you're all good with that?
Yes.
Sweet. I don't want to take up any more of your guys' time. Let me ping Glim real quick to see if he is wrapping up, because he has a really cool messaging architecture that we might be able to use. But yeah, anyone else have any other questions or comments? Or Alex, you got a joke?
No, I don't. Joke. I did have, so like when I was going through the Telegram, like looking up like all of the storage proof stuff for the verification model, and I noticed that like there was like some discussion where like for WASM that you wouldn't have verification because it would rely on the front end to be verifying stuff. Is that true? Like, are we going to like put a feature flag in front of it for verification of Beerus, like to like have it turned off so it doesn't, it keeps its footprint smaller?
I don't think so. Can you flag that, or can you
It
flag
was
that in
like
the Telegram chat?
It was like a discussion between like Danilo and Elias, I think. About when I was looking into it.
Can you
Because yeah,
ping it to the bottom of the thread just so we can check it out? Because at the end of the day, all we should need is that get proof endpoint.
Yeah, I mean, like it was like, you know, February of last year, so
Okay.
it would just be old like knowledge, yeah. Because it was actually Abdel that said it, I think. With WASM, the verification will run in the front end, but like, I mean that I don't think front end users are sophisticated enough to like know about that, but yeah, okay, I'll flag it.
Yeah, I don't know what the distinction would be there. I don't see any issue on the front end side. It should be able to handle that logic.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Cool. Glim says he is still in the meeting. So yeah. Appreciate you guys joining today. I'll see you guys online, and yeah, any other questions, let's handle it in Telegram. Oh, easy. Did you I never followed up with you about the testing coverage for that code block that it wasn't executed. Did you end up getting that sorted out, or do we still need to look at that?
Yeah, I haven't solved it yet. I can look at it.
Okay. Then yeah, I'll try to take a look at it after this, and if anyone else has cycles, they can do it too. Sweet, guys. We all need to prepare jokes for next week. All right. Have a good one, guys. Later.
Later.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Uh,